What if I told you that Lewis Hamilton's recovery from the 20th position to the 10th position in Las Vegas looked impressive on camera, but inside Ferrari, Frédéric Vasseur and Charles Leclerc were left stunned when they learned how Hamilton achieved it and what the data revealed about his performance. You saw Hamilton gain 10 positions. What you did not see were the conditions he faced. The cold asphalt, the stubborn tire temperatures, the unpredictable balance of the SF25, and the heavy midfield traffic created one of the most punishing races of his Ferrari career. Yet Hamilton attacked the race with precision, patience, and control, managing a car that was never inside its ideal performance window. And what almost no one realized is that Hamilton's climb was not the result of strategy or luck. It was the result of a level of racecraft that caught even his own team by surprise. Vasseur and Leclerc both studied the telemetry after the race, and the numbers revealed decisions Hamilton made in real time that transformed a disastrous starting position into a meaningful result for Ferrari's championship fight. Stay right here, because once you understand why Hamilton's recovery shocked Vasseur, why Leclerc openly praised it, and why the data exposed one of the smartest drives of Hamilton's season, you will see the Las Vegas Grand Prix in a completely different light. The Las Vegas Grand Prix began as an uphill battle for Lewis Hamilton, who started from the 20th position after a qualifying session where the Ferrari SF25 struggled to bring tire temperature into the proper operating range. The desert night amplified every weakness of the car. The cold air stripped heat from the tires instantly, and the long straights forced them to cool again before Hamilton even reached the next braking zone. From the moment he launched off the grid, he knew he was entering a race where the machinery would be fighting him as much as the rivals around him, and where experience and precision would matter more than the raw performance the Ferrari could not deliver that weekend. The opening laps revealed immediately how delicate the situation was. Cars ahead locked their brakes and slid unpredictably while searching for grip on the cold surface. Hamilton felt the same instability, but approached it with a measured touch. His first radio messages showed clarity rather than frustration. He noted the lack of front grip, the hesitation in rotation, and the way the rear felt disconnected at key moments. Instead of forcing overtakes early, he allowed the tires to gain the small amount of temperature they could hold. His methodical approach paid off. He avoided the chaos that caught others and slowly positioned himself to exploit mistakes rather than create them. As the midfield began to stretch, Hamilton started building momentum. What impressed Ferrari was not the number of overtakes, but the intelligence behind each one. He passed rivals only when his tire temperature was at its most stable point. His throttle application was smoother than earlier laps, and he used the natural energy through the corners to improve the thermal state of the tires. Ferrari's telemetry later revealed that his driving at this stage was not just controlled, but perfectly calibrated to keep the SF25 within a narrow window of functionality. Every move forward was measured, every defensive action balanced between aggression and conservation. It was a masterclass in racecraft under limitations. When the pit window arrived, Hamilton faced his most dangerous moment. The Ferrari ran colder than expected, and the new tires came up to temperature more slowly than predicted. The pit lane exit left him on a surface that punished any slide, and his first response over the radio described the lack of connection between the tires and the asphalt. Ferrari saw the temperature dips in real time and understood the risk immediately. But Hamilton reacted before the balance could collapse further. He adjusted his corner entry speeds, altered his steering arcs, and focused on rebuilding tire energy through controlled lateral load. This instinctive response prevented a spiral that might have cost him several positions. Through the middle phase of the race, Hamilton's experience shaped the rhythm of his recovery. His tires oscillated between usable and fragile, depending on where he was on the circuit. The straights cooled the rubber dramatically, but the corners offered an opportunity to claw back some temperature. His radio communications matched the telemetry perfectly. He explained exactly when the rear stepped out, when the front refused to rotate, and when the balance felt recoverable. Ferrari analysts would later confirm that his descriptions were so precise that they mirrored the numerical data almost corner by corner. This alignment between perception and reality impressed both Vasseur and Leclerc, who understood how rare such clarity can be under pressure. By the final laps, Hamilton established himself inside the top 10, controlling a race that could have broken down at multiple points. The SF25 still behaved unpredictably, but Hamilton's restraint and consistency prevented the tires from falling out of their already narrow window. When he crossed the line with a 10-position recovery, it looked smooth on television, but the internal data told a far deeper story. Vasseur and Leclerc realized that Hamilton had executed a drive shaped by awareness, discipline, and constant micro-decisions that preserved the car when it offered him very little in return. This context is what shocked them both, and is the part of Hamilton's race that no one saw. The defining problem of Hamilton's Las Vegas race was the Ferrari SF25's struggle to warm and retain tire temperature. The cold desert conditions exposed this weakness more severely than any other circuit had during the season. From the moment Hamilton crossed the start line, the tires behaved outside their intended range. The rubber surface never built enough energy to give him the sharp rotation he needed in the slow corners. Ferrari had predicted a difficult first stint, but not the severity shown on the telemetry. The tires gained minimal heat during the corner sequences, yet lost that progress instantly on every long straight, creating a cycle that prevented the car from stabilizing at any point of the lap. This unstable thermal behavior triggered a chain reaction that influenced every technical aspect of the SF25's performance. When the tires cooled, the ride height increased slightly, which disrupted the aerodynamic ceiling beneath the chassis. This weakened the downforce that Hamilton depended on for cornering precision. His radio messages reflected this instability with remarkable accuracy. He described the front refusing to take load on entry and the rear stepping out unexpectedly under traction. What impressed Ferrari engineers later was how these subjective sensations aligned perfectly with the objective data. The car was oscillating between balanced states that Hamilton had to manage manually. Traffic intensified the problem. Fighting through the midfield meant Hamilton had to overtake cars that were themselves struggling for grip. Each defensive action from his rivals forced him offline onto colder asphalt patches. These offline entries led to additional sliding that removed even more heat from the tires. Ferrari could see in the telemetry that Hamilton's steering corrections became more frequent in these zones. What looked like clean overtakes on television masked the delicate control required to prevent the SF25 from falling into deeper instability. Vasseur later noted that Hamilton's precision in these moments preserved the tires in ways that even Ferrari's simulations had not predicted. The pit stop created a new layer of difficulty. Fresh tires normally provide stability, but in Las Vegas, they exposed the SF25's weakness immediately. Hamilton reported that the front tires felt disconnected even before completing a full lap. Ferrari saw the temperature drops happening faster than expected, confirming that the second stint offered no advantage over the first. The tires lost their energy as soon as Hamilton pushed the car forward, and the balance responded with hesitation. This instability forced Hamilton into another round of adjustments, altering his corner approaches to build the tire temperature that the car refused to generate naturally. As the race progressed, the instability became more complex. The combination of tire temperature fluctuations and aerodynamic inconsistency created a situation where Hamilton could not rely on habitual braking points or standard driving lines. He had to recalculate his approach to every corner depending on how much heat the tires had lost in the previous straight. This required exceptional focus and adaptability. His radio messages conveyed the constant shifts in grip, the moments when the front regained some response, and the phases where the rear needed special attention. Ferrari later realized how much mental bandwidth this demanded from Hamilton, even while he continued climbing through the field. By the final laps, the full extent of the problem was clear. The SF25 never entered its ideal operating window. The tires remained below optimal temperature. The aerodynamic load fluctuated lap after lap. The balance shifted unpredictably depending on the exact thermal state of the rubber. And despite all of this, Hamilton maintained control, overtook 10 cars, and delivered a finish that exceeded the natural capability of the machine. It was this contrast between the instability of the SF25 and the precision of Hamilton's driving that left both Vasseur and Leclerc deeply impressed once they saw the internal data. The problem was bigger than anyone outside Ferrari realized, and Hamilton managed it with exceptional skill. When Frédéric Vasseur and the engineering group opened the race data, the first element that caught their attention was the tire temperature profile across the entire 50-lap distance. The SF25 never reached a stable thermal phase, not even briefly. The tires gained a touch of energy in short corner sequences, then lost it instantly on the long Las Vegas straights. This behavior explained Hamilton's consistent references on the radio about the car sliding, hesitating, or refusing to take load. For Vasseur, this was the moment he realized Hamilton had not been working with a partially cooperative car. He had been fighting a machine that simply never entered the performance window Ferrari had built it for. The aerodynamic load traces deep in Vasseur's surprise. The floor of the SF25 depends heavily on tire temperature because even slight changes in ride height disrupt the air ceiling beneath the chassis. The telemetry showed repeated drops in aerodynamic pressure exactly at the moments where the tires lost energy, creating a cycle of downforce loss followed by incomplete recovery through the corners. Hamilton had described this phenomenon with uncanny accuracy during the race, noting where the rear stepped out or where the front felt vague. Vasseur saw that Hamilton had been responding to these aerodynamic collapses instinctively, making micro adjustments faster than the car itself could stabilize. When Charles Leclerc reviewed the data alongside his engineers, he was immediately struck by how differently Hamilton had managed the same problem. Both Ferraris faced identical limitations, yet Hamilton's steering traces were smoother, earlier, and more controlled. His inputs revealed anticipation rather than reaction. Leclerc quickly understood that Hamilton had been reading the behavior of the tires and the floor before the telemetry even displayed the onset of instability. Leclerc later told the team that Hamilton's ability to sense grip loss and adapt in real time was something only the most experienced drivers in the world could achieve under such cold and unpredictable conditions. The radio messages added an entirely new layer to the team's understanding. Hamilton never signaled panic, never demanded radical setup changes, and never suggested abandoning the push for points. Instead, he communicated with clarity, describing exactly how the tires behaved in each sector. Ferrari matched every comment with data, and the alignment was almost perfect. When Hamilton noted hesitation in rotation, the data showed a drop in front tire energy. When he mentioned instability on traction, the load values reflected a loss of downforce under the floor. Leclerc and Vasseur both recognized that Hamilton's internal reading of the car matched the engineering picture almost corner by corner.